What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, I'm going to take you through my current draft. We are 3 weeks away from the game week 1 deadline. I've made some updates trying to get my head around the defensive contributions and all that good stuff. So I'm going to talk you through the team. Let's get into it. Just a heads up, by the way, if you want a second opinion on your own team, you can get it rated for free using the link in the description below or scanning the QR code on screen. More on that to come later. So this is how I'm set up from a defensive point of view. I've changed goalkeeper since the last draft, so Sells is out and Sanchez is in, so I'm still spending 5 million. I do think at 4.5 you've got Verbruggen, obviously at Brighton, Petrovic at Bournemouth, Kelleher at Brentford could all be pretty good, but I do think spending that extra 0.5 million could be beneficial over the long term. I think in general FPL have priced goalkeepers really well. One of the reasons Sells has gone is because I've got Murillo in defence. But also, I think longer-term fixtures are probably slightly better for Chelsea, and they're likely to be the stronger defence this season as well. Also, if I look at Chelsea defenders, like if I wanted to cover their defence, Colwill at 5 million is not that exciting, and Cucurella is obviously more expensive at 6. So Sanchez kind of fits in quite nicely. I've still got Kinski on the bench. There's every chance we just won't have a £4 million playing goalkeeper. Lots of people had Darlow from Leeds, but they've now signed a new goalkeeper as well. So as it stands, I've got Kinski, but he may just change to a different non-playing £4 million keeper. For game week 1, I'm set up in a back 4. My intention would be to play a back 3 most weeks. I've got Van Dijk from Liverpool, Murillo, who I just mentioned, Tarkowski from Everton, Udogie is my 4.5 million defender, and then I've got Lacroix from Crystal Palace on the bench. So no 4 million defenders, only one 4.5. I've really kind of embraced the defensive contributions. I do think they're going to be worthwhile. In terms of my 6 million defender, Cucurella, I don't want to double up on Chelsea defence. Vardiol, I'm quite interested in because last season, his minutes were great. He started 36 matches. Man City fixtures are quite good. But is Vardiol as nailed on this season? Like, if we think Aït-Nouri is going to get good minutes, that's going to be at left back, which means Vardiol has to play left centre back, which obviously he can do and did quite a bit last season as well. But City have other centre backs. I don't think it's a guarantee that Vardiol always plays left centre back if he's not playing left back. Maybe that's overthinking, but the fact that it's even a thought in my head means I'd rather go safer. And I just think for the first 5 or 6 game weeks, Liverpool's fixtures are slightly better than Arsenal's, which is why I've gone Van Dijk instead of Gabriel. Ideally, I would get an extra 0.5 million, probably to upgrade Murillo or Tarkowski, who are both 5.5. But for now, I don't have that cash. Forest short-term fixtures good. Murillo is excellent for defensive contributions. And I know a lot of people have been saying to me that defensive contributions will come in tougher games. And that will be the case for some players. But teams like Nottingham Forest and Everton, the way they defend, they're going to be able to pick these points up in easier fixtures as well. And we should still be targeting good fixtures for clean sheets and stuff like that. So I really like Murillo. I really like Tarkowski for that reason. And if I do get stuck with them longer term, they can pick me up those extra points in those tougher matches. And I've basically switched Van de Ven to Udogie. Lots of people pointed out in the comments of my last video that in the match Spurs had their first friendly, Udogie was quite attacking. So I'll keep an eye on that over pre-season and see how that progresses. If it looks like he's going to be up and down that left wing, then yes, I definitely prefer him to Van de Ven because Van de Ven's not amazing for defensive contributions anyway. Otherwise, I will probably go for a 4.5 that's going to pick up those additional points, like Agbadou, for example, at Wolves. I wouldn't necessarily want to play him in game week 1, but he's nice bench cover. In my defensive contributions video that I did the other day, I did say that for bench cover, it's worth getting those kind of players that can come off in more difficult fixtures and pick you up those points. And that's part of the reason I've gone for Lacroix. He's 5 million, so 0.5 more than Gay and Richards, but 0.5 less than Munoz. He was another absolute beast when it came to defensive contributions last year, and he's a genuine goal threat as well. And ultimately, these 5 defenders rotate quite nicely, which I'm going to show you in a second. So it's a bit more money than a lot of people have spent on defence. Like Esteve at Burnley for 4 million is definitely an option. I could downgrade 1 or 2 of these players to a 4.5, but I quite like how the attack looks. So let me show you the rotation then we'll move on to midfield. So as I mentioned earlier, if you want a second opinion on your team, you can get it rated for free on the My Team tool on Fantasy Football Hub. And what I love about pre-season is they have this option to import teams from a screenshot. I play around on the FPL site a lot with different drafts, so you can save them to a screenshot and then basically get it uploaded straight to the tool, and it's super quick and easy to do, as you can see. So I can just save that. I can even optimize the team as well to show me who to play, and then it will give me my rating at the top. What I really like to do, especially for defenders, is put it on one game week only and then see how the team looks over the first few weeks. So the My Team tool wants me to play a back three in game week 1, Van Dijk against Bournemouth, Murillo against Brentford, Udogie against Burnley, all quite straightforward. If I go to game week 2, obviously Udogie's got Man City, not great, but I can put in Lacroix instead, who plays against Forest. Van Dijk against Newcastle, I would probably play. And then Murillo against Crystal Palace away is okay, or I could just play Tarkowski instead. So game week 2 looks fine, obviously barring any injuries. Game week 3, Van Dijk's got Arsenal at home, which is not ideal. But again, I'd probably still play him because of his goal threat. And obviously in the more difficult games, he can get those defensive contributions. Murillo would come in for Tarkowski with West Ham at home, and I'd probably play Udogie over Lacroix. So that's game week 3. Game week 4, Virgil van Dijk against Burnley away. Murillo's got Arsenal away, which is very difficult. But Lacroix has got Sunderland at home, so he would definitely play. And then I can either choose Udogie, West Ham away, Villa at home. I like doing that to see how long my defence will last, because ultimately, making defender transfers is quite boring. You mostly want to concentrate them on attackers instead. So unless I get injuries, I want to keep those defenders for as long as possible. It's not to say I'll never make a defender injury, but I'm getting into game week 4 and even game week 5, and I've got at least 3 good defenders I can play. And because I've gone for Lacroix a little bit more expensive than the 4.5s, if I have to play him in a slightly worse fixture, it's still okay because of his defensive contributions. So I think that defense looks pretty sound. If you want to check that tool out and get your team rated for free, link in the description below or scan the QR code on screen. So in midfield, my 2 premium players are still Salah and Palmer. At some point during pre-season, I will put together a draft with Haaland and give you my thoughts on it. But realistically, for my own team, I don't see me going for Haaland. Like, I've got no doubt if he's fit and available, he'll score 20 plus goals again this season quite easily. But I think Salah will get close to him in goals, or close enough, and he gets an extra point for the goal, extra point for a clean sheet, and he's super creative as well, which obviously Haaland isn't. And I can get all that for only 0.5 million more. I understand why Haaland is 14 million, because he's capable of doing, extremely well, as he did, especially in his first season. But for game week 1, he'd have to be like $1 million or $1.5 million less for me to really consider him. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to start with Salah, although, we've got 3 weeks to go, anything can change. With Palmer, end of last season in the Premier League, he was pretty awful in terms of output. Like, goals and assists were just nowhere to be found. So there is a slight worry that will continue into this year, but I think I'd rather be on him than not. And I think the only other option at that kind of price is Saka. And I do like the idea of going Saka captain in game week 2 against Leeds at home. But outside of that one captaincy, I think Palmer for the first 5-6 weeks is better. So I'd rather give up that captain and just go for Palmer instead. Also, at the time of recording, Gyökeres to Arsenal is not official, but it looks like it's going to happen. What if he takes penalties off Saka? I'm not sure it will happen, but I think it's a possibility. Gyökeres has taken a lot of penalties, and his record is very good. Like, new player to Liverpool, I don't care how good your record is, Salah's keeping penalties. Bruno's almost certainly going to take them at Man United, despite Mbeumo being there. João Pedro's not going to take them off Palmer. Could Gyökeres take them off Saka? I think it's a possibility, so I'm not sure I'm going to go there. There is a temptation to just downgrade Palmer to like Bruno or Wirtz and spread the money elsewhere. I like having that kind of price point that I can go anywhere later on. Like, I can move Palmer to Saka, or I can move Palmer to Wirtz and then spread the money. I just think he's a nice player to start with that is going to start. There's maybe some concerns with Chelsea because obviously they went and won the Club World Cup. So they're going to get a bit of a break, then pretty much come straight back to playing Premier League football. They're not going to be playing a bunch of friendlies beforehand. So maybe they'll be a bit rusty. I will give Palmer some serious thought. He's in no way locked in my team. But given the fixtures and what he's capable of, I do preferably want to start with him. And then the other three midfielders have all changed. I've put Morgan Rogers in. The more I think about it, the more and more I'm coming around to starting with him. 7 million's a pretty good price. I think when a player the previous season's been a bargain, bearing in mind he started at 5 million, it's hard to shift the mindset when they go up in price that they're still a good pick. But this is a guy that's absolutely like mega nailed in that Villa team. He plays all the minutes. He got 8 goals, 11 assists last year, a really good return. And I told myself after what happened last year with Nkunku and Barco and Kwanzaa that I wasn't going to put in too many players that were unknowns or that might have reduced minutes after a few game weeks. Rodgers fits the bill perfectly. I know he's going to start every game for Villa based on what we saw last season. And also, by the way, the Villa fixtures are just very good. Like for the opening few weeks. Newcastle at home, Brentford away to start the season, then Palace at home, Everton away, Sunderland away, Fulham at home, Burnley at home. First 7 I really like. And I'm a big fan of having players that you know if you get stuck with, you can just keep them because the fixtures are still good and they're definitely going to play. And you can just concentrate transfers elsewhere. I think with the 5 transfer rule that obviously came in last year, I don't want to be... Like last year I was forced into using a transfer in game week 2 for Kwanzaa, use the transfer in game week 3 for Nkunku. I want to be more flexible. I want to be able to make transfers because I want to make them rather than being forced into them. That's why I like Rodgers. And then I've got Semenyo on the bench. I think Sarr at 6.5 is good. I think Kudus at 6.5 is okay. But for 0.5 more, again, an absolutely nailed player. Kluivert's the same price, by the way, and you get penalties. So he will be a temptation. But I think from open play, Semenyo is better. So if the penalties dry up for Bournemouth, I'd rather have Semenyo. And by the way, Semenyo is one of those players that people got really frustrated with last year. He did score 11 goals and got 7 assists. So 18 returns is pretty decent for 7 million. Would I actually bench him, by the way, and play a back 4 in game week 1? I'm not so sure. I might just play Semenyo against Liverpool, but I've got options there. And then my last midfielder, I haven't got Anderson from Forest because I didn't have 5.5 to spend. I've got Christie from Bournemouth instead, who does very well for defensive contributions. Like his clearances, blocks, interceptions, tackles, and ball recoveries per 90 minutes is very good. And before he picked up that injury, he was playing 90 minutes every single week, and he's only 5 million. So I don't know if he's fully fit to start the season. I did try looking that up before I started recording. Couldn't see anything. But if he is available, I think at 5 million, him or maybe Baleba from Brighton are probably the two to look at. And Christie just did very well on the numbers. So all round, solid midfield. Would I like Wirtz? Sure, but he's 8.5 million. And I don't think Rodgers and Semenyo will necessarily match him, but I'm not as convinced as everyone else is that they'll be miles behind. And I think that 1.5 million is probably better spent elsewhere. I mean, if I did Palmer to Wirtz, that's straight away, that's 2 million. Like, here's an interesting one. I know everyone's like not a fan of Bruno, but Palmer and Semenyo could be Wirtz and Bruno. It's the same amount of money spent. And if I'm just going to captain Salah most weeks, maybe that's worthwhile. So obviously this team is not set in stone. I'm constantly thinking about what to do, but I think that looks pretty solid. And then up front, I've still got Dominic Solanke, who I think is pretty good value at 7.5 million. I do know what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks, by the way. You're going to see Solanke in so many of my drafts that you think I'm obsessed with him, that I'm overrating him and stuff like that. I by no means think Solanke is essential. I just quite like him at that price point with the fixtures that Spurs have got. I am completely open to changing my mind on that. Like Mateta at Palace is pretty good for that price. João Pedro I'm a little bit less keen on because I'm not as convinced as everyone else that his minutes are fully secure, but potentially he's a good option as well. And, you know, if Isak was to leave Newcastle, which I'm not sure is that likely, but it's being reported today on Thursday when I'm recording this video that he might want to leave. If they sign Visser from Brentford and he went in as first choice number 9, potentially on penalties ahead of Anthony Gordon, then I'm super interested in him as well. Just right now, I quite like Solanke. Next to him, it's Strand Larsen. No player at this point is locked into my draft, right? No one is locked in until the game week 1 deadline. But Strand Larsen at 6.5, I think is serious value. Man City at home, not a great fixture to start, but Wolves opening 7-8 are not bad overall. Pretty sure he's going to be on penalties. And this guy got 14 goals, 4 assists in 30 starts last year. That's a pretty good return. Do I think he'll keep returning at that level? Not necessarily, but I don't think there'll be this big drop-off. So 6.5, I really like Strand Larsen. And then Welbeck, I think, was in my first draft. I am a little bit less sure about, but I think at 6.5 as it stands, there isn't a better option. I'm pretty sure he's going to start the season as first choice number 9. I am a little bit worried that Hertzler doesn't always give us injury news in press conferences. Sometimes last season, there was times when Welbeck was just not in the squad and we never knew about it. So that does worry me a bit. Basically, Welbeck is a placeholder to see what else happens in the transfer market. For example, Leeds United have been linked with Muniz from Fulham. If he went to Leeds and was first choice and was going to take penalties for 5.5 million, well, he's straight in. And then Welbeck, who's 6.5, gives me another 1 million to spend. So Welbeck to Muniz, 1 million to spend. Then maybe I do Christie to Anderson and spend 0.5 elsewhere. Maybe I do Christie to Tielemans. Maybe I upgrade Udogi. I don't know what I would do with that money, but that's the kind of thing I'm on the lookout for. If Visser goes and leaves Brentford, then Thiago's 6 million at Brentford. He would then become first choice number 9, and he'd probably be on penalties. He would definitely be an option. And also you've got Everton, who've got Beto and Barry, who's just come in. Now, presumably, over the course of the season, the intention is for Barry to become first choice. If it looks like that's the case from game week 1, well, he's 6 million as well. Now, that particular player would maybe not, meet my criteria of being absolutely sure that he's nailed on, but he could be an option. So please don't look at Welbeck as though I think, again, he's absolutely essential. Far from it. I think he's a good pick to start with at 6.5, but there is potential for a 5.5 or 6 million forward to emerge before game week 1. And I'd be really interested because I could upgrade in other spots. I like Evan Nielsen at 7. I like Mateta at 7.5, etc. But obviously they're more money. And there's not really anywhere else that I want to downgrade. So I'm pretty happy with that team. Most weeks I would play 3-4-3. Looks really solid. Christie at 5 million if he's fit. Should get defensive contribution points. And is mostly going to sit on the bench anyway. So let me know down in the comments below how much you like that draft or how much you hate it, which is usually the norm. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button and get your team rated for free using the link in the description below. And I will catch you again soon.